What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have some good news to share with you guys about Social Security. So we're going to talk about Senator Bernie Sanders and President Biden. They had a meeting yesterday and they talked about, or at least Senator Bernie Sanders pitched the idea of this $200 raise for Social Security. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, at the end of this video, you'll see a secret code. That code you put in the comments section, I'll make sure to reply to those comments. I'm way behind, I have to admit, and so I'm trying to catch up with my old videos, all the comments in the old videos, but in this video, I just want to remind you guys, just put that code in there and then I'll make sure to reply. That way I know you've watched the video all the way through. What happens sometimes is people will look at just the very first minute of my video and then go down in the comment section and they'll ask questions about something that I addressed in the video, or they just don't even watch the video at all and they just go down and post a comment. So I just want to make sure you guys are watching the video. I take a lot of time doing the research to put this content out for you. And so I appreciate that. So when I see that you put that code in there, I know, okay, they watched the whole video. And it just, it's one of those things where I want to reward you by at least responding to those comments. So I know I'm behind, but I will catch up. Maybe over the weekend, I'll have plenty of time to look at all the comments and reply to those comments. Okay, let's go ahead. And I want to show you this article. And this is from the Washington Post. It says, White House aides have discussed Social Security tax eyeing shortfall. Now, when it comes to the Social Security tax, this is something that we've heard already, right? We've heard Senator Bernie Sanders talk about this. We've heard some other politicians talk about this. I personally think this is the only way out of the problem with Social Security. This is the only way to reform Social Security. You're going to have to raise taxes. There are two ways to do it right now. There are two ways that they're talking about doing it. One is to look at the payroll tax. So increase that payroll tax, maybe put it on a stabilizer so it doesn't affect it right away. But if our economy starts getting worse, that's when it will kick in. So things like that, that is one way to do it. The payroll tax at 6.2% that you're paying and the 6.2% that your employer is paying, increase that up to maybe 6.5% or 6.7%. And that will help address the solvency issue. Now, another way of reforming Social Security is to look at the cap. So bring that cap up. So right now the cap's at $160,200, and any money that you make over that, you don't have to pay into the payroll tax anymore. And so what they could do is they could just raise that cap. So what Senator Bernie Sanders is talking about doing, if you make $250,000 or more, that's when you'll have to start paying into the payroll tax again. So there'll be a gap. So right now, the way it works is if you make $160,200, you're paying into the payroll tax, but anything above that, you no longer have to pay into the payroll tax. And so what Bernie Sanders wants to do is he wants to say if you make $250,000 or more, that's when you're going to have to pay into the payroll tax again. But there'll be a little gap where you still don't have to pay. So let's say you make $161,200. You're not going to have to pay that small amount into the payroll tax. You'll have that gap until you reach $250,000. Once you reach $250,000, that's when you'll have to start paying into it again. And so that's the talk right now. Now, the White House, at least you have aides in the White House that are bringing this up and saying, hey, this is something that we need to start looking at. We need to address the Social Security shortfall. We need to address that. We need to address the fact that the trust funds are running out of money. Now, a lot of politicians right now don't want to address this. They say that we're not going to cut Social Security. We want to protect Social Security. And I'm always interested when they say protect Social Security, what exactly does that mean? Because they're not saying they want to expand Social Security. They're saying they want to protect it. There are a variety of different ways that you can protect programs. One is by cutting the program. You can protect the program, so make sure that it's still around, but it might not be around with the same benefits that were offered before. And so that's the fear when you hear politicians, both President Biden and we heard Speaker McCarthy say we want to protect Social Security. What exactly does protect mean? Does that mean that you still want to cut Social Security, but you just want to stretch out the money that you have in the Social Security program? Or do you actually want to expand Social Security or keep the benefits at the same rate that they are now? What exactly does it mean? And so President Biden and Senator Sanders had a meeting yesterday, and that's when Senator Sanders pitched the idea. Look, this is a good way for us to address the solvency issue as well as provide $200 raise for people on Social Security. And there's no real information as far as how it went. They're not really talking too much about this. Was the president receptive to this? Right now, the president hasn't come out and said anything when it comes to wanting to provide a $200 raise for Social Security, even though this is something that he said he would be in favor of when he was running for office. But he hasn't said anything about this. Now, we do have to face a big elephant in the room. Right now, we have split government. So we have the House is run by Republicans, the Senate's run by Democrats, and then you have the White House run by Democrats. And so it'd be very hard to get this passed. However, this is one of those things, I don't think it's going to pass the first time that it goes through. Like, let's say they bring this to the floor in the Senate, which I personally think they should do. Bring it to the floor in the Senate. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but at least it gets people focused on, okay, this is an option. This is a really good option. And you're going to have politicians that are going to be afraid to vote against expanding Social Security and addressing the trust fund. It's hard to do. And at least what you do is you bring people to the table. And so what I think Senator Bernie Sanders is trying to do is he's trying to get the president to say, you know what, I support that. Let's see if we can move it through the Senate. And as long as you bring up a procedural vote in the Senate, maybe it will go somewhere in the future, and maybe they'll have to water it down a little bit, but at least it will be addressed. Right now, they're not even addressing it. Right now, you have Leader Schumer. He's not even putting this forward, and that's a problem because if he doesn't put it forward, it has no legs. It's not going to go anywhere. And so we're going to have to see what happens when it comes to this, but it's very interesting just to see that at least the White House, which they'll be putting out a budget in March, at least the White House is addressing this and saying, hey, this could be an option. This is something that we should be talking about. But at least the White House is saying, look, we need to start talking about Social Security reform, and potentially we could see something in the budget that focuses on this payroll tax that they want to address. And like I said before, when it comes to the payroll tax, the White House, the president has made a pledge that he is not going to raise taxes on anyone making $400,000 or less. And so that would mean that Senator Bernie Sanders' plan of the $250,000, that cap that we were talking about, they wouldn't be able to go that route. They would have to go $400,000 or more. And so obviously if it's $400,000 or more, that's less people paying into the payroll tax. That means that's less money as a whole that will be going to Social Security. So they might not be able to offer the same amount of benefits. You might not see a $200 raise for Social Security, but they might be able to address just the trust fund. So it's just something that we'll have to look at and see where they go with this. But it's at least good news, the fact that they're still talking about this. And it's good news that Senator Bernie Sanders is bringing this to the president. And let's just hope that they can at least bring it to the floor on the Senate. That's all you need to do. Then you'll know how politicians feel about a $200 raise for Social Security. Because right now, we don't know how politicians feel. Because you had politicians in the past, a couple of years ago, saying, yeah, this would be good. But now no one's talking about it, so we don't know. We don't know what the president thinks about that. We don't know if the president wants to back that again. And we also don't know what Republicans want to do when it comes to Social Security. You have a lot of politicians, like I said earlier, that are saying we want to protect Social Security. We don't want to cut Social Security. Okay, what is your plan? We don't have a plan coming from Republicans. The only plan right now that we have that has any possibility of going anywhere is Senator Bernie Sanders' plan. We don't have a plan on the other side. And so at least if you bring that plan to the floor, if Senator Bernie Sanders can bring that plan to the floor, they do a procedural vote, they vote it down, at least we'll hear what Republicans want to do, because they're going to have to do a counteroffer. They're going to have to say, you know what, I don't agree with this plan. I don't agree with the $200 raise for Social Security, but this is what I do agree with. And then we'll see what their plan is. And another thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that Social Security is being talked about so heavily is good. You have politicians out there talking about it, whether they're for cuts or against cuts or for a raise or against a raise. At least they're talking about Social Security, because this is something that needs to be addressed. You have 10 years and we're looking at a cut of about 23% if they don't do anything. I want to know how you guys feel about this, so let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.